Are the graphics a bit outdated and the gameplay a little bit chunky? Of course. But at the end of the day, the Resident Evil 1 remaster is cinema if you're looking for that gritty, dangerous feel of a zombie game. And a survival game that really takes you to the edges of not knowing what's behind every single corner. It's Gabe, and I'm on a journey to play a bunch of the Resident Evil games before Resident Evil 9 comes out next spring. And I'm off to a great start with this title. A lot of fun, a lot of time put into it. Definitely a worthwhile installment to play, to even go back to if you played it before in 2025, because it's just timeless. My first playthrough took me 15 hours and I enjoyed practically every second of it. Moving from area to area in this game is definitely rewarding. It's as rewarding a feeling I've had in any video game of actually earning progression. Getting a key or just simply moving through a door you didn't know you could move through because it's unlocked is something that you grasp and then you immediately have to turn the corner and deal with whatever's on the other side. It's such a fun experience to do that while you also have that nostalgic tank movement that took me a while to get used to with fixed cameras, and it just has that gritty, tough feel that makes it feel like you're in this mansion alone. You got to figure it out. This game is incredibly scary, not in the jump scare aspect of it. You have some of that around certain corners in certain areas, but it's in more of a dramatic tension building way. There's genuine danger everywhere you look, and that's what makes this game so much fun to continue playing. Even as you understand the areas, sometimes you don't understand exactly where you're targeted from or how to deal with it, and that makes this so much more intriguing to play all the way through. Your progression just makes sense. The story makes sense as you unravel the umbrella of the effect of the virus and what's really going on in this mansion, underground, in the residence, through a bunch of different laboratory areas, a very complex map and a big map, but one that you want to explore and you kind of get hooked into continuing to explore. You also get some crazy enemies you're probably going to see later in the series. Hunters and the Tyrant, the ultimate offspring of this encounter at the end. And while the boss fights aren't really insanely mechanical, you can kind of get through them just being mediocre at the game, getting hit here and there, especially with the amount of ammo and the heals that the game gives you. It's just a rewarding experience to take down a boss, especially when you're moving around with the tank controls while also trying to figure out, okay, if I walk around this corner, am I going to be able to even see my opponent? Am I going to be able to see the enemy? Because it's going to be a fixed camera and it's going to shift. So your point of view is going to shift in that third person. And it just makes it so much more tense and dramatic when you're actually down to your last bit of health. It actually matters. I've gone over a lot of the pros in my mind. A lot of those things are things that I enjoyed coming from a more modern, fast-paced gameplay lifestyle. You have to plot out and have intention on where you're going at all times. Otherwise, you're gonna waste a lot of time because 90% of this game is cardio. That's just how it is. It seems like that's the Resident Evil staple, is that you move from area to area and then figuring out the best pathing is the way to progress through the game, because it saves you time and it also gets you more familiar with that area of the map. I will also say, running back and forth when you're taking damage, if you don't find ink ribbons in certain areas or time frames of this game, you're gonna be hurting, you're gonna be tense. It makes the game more dramatic, but at times when you have to go 2 hours and you're making good progression and you're probably gonna rage if you don't finish this now and you end up being killed, that's what you want in games. But at the same time, there are areas in this game where there are just streaks of nothingness, even defeating bosses where you don't get adequate heals or you don't get ink ribbons to save your progress in bad situations where you're going to run into more enemies. I saved too much early on in the game when nothing impactful really took place between saves, and that bit me in the butt. I had a long 3-4 hour section where I would complete, I think I got to the initial courtyard cabin with Lisa Trevor, but also going from that back through the courtyard. The Cerberus dogs almost killed me and would have had me off this game for at least a day if I had died there. And And it's something about the placement of the ink ribbons. Once you understand that and you get endgame, not only are they prevalent in the laboratory, but they're also, you have the mindset of, I can relaunch the game. Another thing I really didn't enjoy was trying to find key items, keys to doors, places to go, knowing which doors to go through, because the game doesn't explicitly tell you the objectives. You have to know them or learn them. And that's just what a first playthrough becomes. Like I said, it took me 15 hours on my first playthrough simply because of that. Because I didn't know, A, where to go off rip, and as you progress through new areas, you have to learn that over and over again through trial and error and just exploring the space. There's no objective on your screen telling you to go here or here, which I think in later games will be more of a stepping stone for what you're trying to accomplish or do. Additionally, I chose the wrong character. I started as Chris Redfield, which gave me a limited inventory. I believe also a limit on the items I actually used. If I had a lockpick, maybe I'm able to open a few doors that are locked that I can't progress through, and it makes my gameplay longer, and it kind of stresses me out and has me lurking, trying to spawn peek corners to make sure I'm not going to die. The other thing I noticed as Chris with that lack of inventory was no way to drop items. If I'd picked up and filled my inventory, there was no way to add anything else unless I used an item like a green herb and I took it and wasted it sometimes in situations where I didn't need to use it and I could have maximized it a little bit better. Or also finding an item box in a safe room and dropping things specifically there. No opportunity to drop things at my feet like in more modern games. It kind of makes sense that it was programmed this way, and it does, again, make you more mindful of what you're doing with your items and what you're picking up. But again, this only adds to your runbacks, and you just keep circling into this running, discovering kind of combo in order to progress. The puzzles were not very intuitive. You would have to either look up, there were several that I was able to do myself that just made sense, but there were also several that I saw snippets of in YouTube videos and looking up how to do it in the wiki, just because I was stumped. Like, there's nothing else you can do in some of those situations. But at the end of the day, a very fun game that is very complex for a game released over 2 decades ago and remade. The inability to alt-tab out was another thing for me. So I was doing all my walkthroughs that I would need on the fly on my phone. And I mean, obviously, even going up to the Resident Evil 2 remake, it's much different graphically. It's a huge jump just because of the time frame. And I know a lot of people are hoping and or thinking that maybe in the future there's a Resident Evil 1 HD remake, a second remake. At the end of the day, this experience was super fun, and right now I got it for $5 on Steam because it's 75% off. Why not give it a try? Absolutely a staple in the horror survival game ecosystem, and one that Resident Evil did well with their remake and HD remaster. As a final argument, just take a look at my live reaction after beating the game. It tells all you need to know. A first playthrough that took more than 12 hours as advertised on how long to beat, and this was my reaction. Fun game. Once you know what you're doing, it's a fun game. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. We're going to be playing through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and at least Village before the spring. So if you're interested in Resident Evil, this is the place for you to see a newbie try it. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.